Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my versus video between the Nike Zoom Freak 4 and the Nike Zoom Freak 3. So unfortunately, they did increase the price of the Zoom Freak 4 by $10 from the Zoom Freak 3. It's 130 bucks. The Zoom Freak 3 is 120 bucks, but it is on crazy sale. I saw some crazy sales of this shoe going for like 70, 80 bucks. So if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. Both of these shoes are available now. It's actually, there's like a really cool Volt or like mint colorway of the Zoom Freak 4. I really don't like the purple one that I have, so that sucks. I wish I had that one. But anyways, let's get it started off with the tracciones. And honestly, the Zoom Freak 4 for me was a little bit better. Both of the tractions, in my experience, I had to break in, right? I guess both of these have a very, or I guess, you know, this is black and this is a very dark gray, right? As far as the color goes. And the traction pattern is pretty different. We have some like very curvy lines here in the 3, and then in the 4, we have more like a chaotic line with very sharp edges, right? So yeah, I mean, the Zoom Freak 3 wasn't terrible, but it was just like, it was pretty good. It definitely wasn't top tier or anything. But the Zoom Freak 4, like once I kept playing in it, it got better and better. Also, both of these shoes are pretty silent at first, and once you break it in, it starts to squeak a little bit more. Definitely not as squeaky as like the PG6 or what else is super squeaky? Like the Hardens. The MB ones are also very squeaky, you know. Once you break it in, there starts to be a little bit more of a squeak, but definitely nothing crazy or major. But yeah, if you're playing on a clean court, they both have solid bites, but the Zoom Freak 4 is definitely better, especially once I broke it in. Also for dust, they both pick up a little bit of dust, but it's a pretty easy wipe for both of them as well. So not a huge problem for dust performance. If you're playing on an outdoor court, as far as the durability goes, they're probably not the best option. The Zoom Freak 4 seems a little bit softer, just a tiny bit softer, but the grooves in both of the shoes are very, very thin, so definitely not the best option for outdoor use. So for me, in my personal experience, the Zoom Freak 4 is a little bit better than the Zoom Freak 3 for traction. All right, moving on to the heel to toe transition, they're both very, very smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have like pretty much fully exposed foam and a nice curve shape. Same thing here in the Zoom Freak 4. However, the Zoom Freak 4 has more compression and also has a nice rebound back compared to the 3. So that felt nicer here in the 4, just by a little bit. And then here in the forefoot, nice curve shape. And a little bit of forefoot flex, but more flex here in the midfoot, right? Same thing here in the Zoom Freak 3. We have a nice curved shape, a little bit more forefoot flex, and then as far as the midfoot goes, it also has a. I feel like, you know, the Zoom Freaks haven't had like any significant midfoot shank plate, which is kind of weird, but I didn't really notice my foot hurting at like that much when I was playing the Zoom Freak 3 or the 4. Like torsion support, I mean, obviously from the actual shoe doesn't seem good, but from my personal experience, I didn't really notice anything, right? So when you're doing heel dominant strides down the court, they're both very, very nice, you know. But like I said, the heel is a little bit better in the Zoom Freak 4. All right, moving on to the cushioning setup. It just seems like a little bit of an upgrade from the 3 to the 4, right? So as far as the zoom units go here in the forefoot, is pretty much the same exact setup, right? We have large volume zoom units that's bottom loaded, but the Zoom Freak 4, it's like more exposed, right here on the lateral and medial side of the shoe. For the 3, it's not exposed at all, really. I mean, it's a little exposed. You can see the zoom unit or the fibers through this kind of like window here in the 3, but you can definitely feel more compression right here, right? So when you're running on the court, you know, when you're playing, you can definitely feel a little bit of a springboard sensation in the forefoot. You definitely don't feel the zoom units underneath your foot. You know, like zoom strobe units or top loaded zoom units. These feel just more like bottom loader, right? But also the heel cushion is definitely a lot better here in the Zoom Freak 4, right? So here in the 3, it's like, it's all right. You know, there's a little bit of compression. It's more on the firmer side of things. But here in the Zoom Freak 4, it's super nice. They're calling it a premium cushion line, which is kind of weird, but there's a lot more compression. There's a lot more bounce as well. It's softer. So of course I like that better. But I guess if you're looking for like a more responsive type of feel, then the Zoom Freak 3 would be better. But for me personally, I like the foam in the 4 better, right? So if you're doing heel strikes, it feels better. Impact protection is better here in the 4. And as far as the court feel goes, it's very similar, right? It feels really similar. The entire shoe, both of these shoes, when you have them on foot, it feels really similar, right? The overall feeling. So there's the cushioning setup there. The Zoom Freak 4 is a little bit of an upgrade in my personal opinion. All right, moving on to the materials. So on foot, they both feel really nice, right? So the Zoom Freak 4 has like this really crappy mesh material. It looks cheap, it feels cheap in hand. Zoom Freak 3 definitely feels better, right? Super soft, you know, it doesn't look or feel as cheap either. But actually the Zoom Freak 4 feels a little bit more supported, right? There's a lot less stretch. Right? The 3 stretches just a tiny bit, right? But like I said, both of them super thin. It feels great on foot here in the forefoot. Here in the midfoot, we have, here in the 4, we have a lot of mesh, like this open mesh for the tongue and medial side. It's not a mesh material, it's more of a textile. And then here in the 3 is pretty much the same exact material, but we have this pretty useless midfoot strap. Adds a little bit of bulk and doesn't really improve lockdown that much. For the tongue, we have pretty damn good padding. They're both oversized tongues. And then here in the ankle area, I would say it's around the same as far as the padding goes. So like on foot, it feels very similar, right? The only thing you kind of notice is the extra little bulk that you get from the midfoot strap, but overall it feels really similar. So pretty much I would tie it up for performance, but if you want the better overall quality materials, in my personal opinion, the Zoom Freak 3 is a little bit better. Also for the fit, I went true to size for both of them and they both fit me exactly the same. So whatever size you got here in the 3, get the exact same size here in the 4, and it just fits me like a glove. Width wise is perfect, you know, it's slightly narrow, not too narrow to the point where it's like squeezing my foot. It's just perfect for me personally. Here in the toe box also, it's a nice snug fit, nothing too snug, just to the point where like I can barely curl my toes up, which I like. And then width wise, they're both slightly narrow. So yeah, they both fit me very well. I guess one thing that I like a little bit better here in the Zoom Freak 4 is like the heel tab, where I guess this part comes up a little bit more, so it's easier to put on than the Zoom Freak 3, you know, where it's like more like this U shape, right? Just a little minor thing, but anyways, fit for me for both of the shoes was really good. All right, for support and lockdown, also I had 0 issues. So for lateral containment, I didn't really have any issues here in the forefoot. Here in the midfoot, we got the swoosh coming up and an internal TPO heel counter. And then here for the 3, same thing, right? And not a whole lot going on here in the forefoot, but I didn't really notice anything major. And then here in the heel, we have the foam coming up and there is an internal TPU heel counter. So lateral containment, I had 0 issues with. Lateral stability, I didn't really have any issues either, but I did have some of you guys tell me that the Zoom unit does compress a good amount, so it felt a little unstable for you guys. Like I said, for me, I didn't really notice anything, and also both of these shoes have very wide bases. You guys can see, so look at that. Super wide. Let's actually compare. Yeah, pretty much the same, right? So for me personally, I didn't really have any issues. I guess if you're like a little bit heavier, then you'll probably compress this a little bit more. So you'll feel it a little bit more if you're heavier, but if you're lighter like me, then you probably won't notice anything all too much. So support and lockdown was great for me. Heel slippage, I had 0. So let's tie it up there. Moving on to the weight of the shoe, probably around the same, honestly, right? Yeah, 11.78 ounces. Let's check the 4. 11.18. Oh, it's a little bit lighter for the 4 actually. Probably this. The strap. I guess also the foam. And the foam, the Cushline definitely is a light density foam. But honestly, it's not a huge difference, you know, 0.6 ounces. You don't really feel all too much when you have it on foot. But what shoe feels more responsive? I would say the 4, because it has better traction. So I felt a little bit quicker when I was playing it in the Zoom Freak 4, but the Zoom Freak 3, I still felt pretty quick. All right, moving on to the aesthetics. What do you guys think? Actually, the 4 grew on me a lot. So I feel like I like the 4 better. Right, the 3, I was never really a huge fan of the 3. The 4 grew on me a lot. So tell us what you guys think looks better down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, so the Zoom Freak 4 is like a little bit of an improvement from the 3, right? So like I said, when I had both of the shoes on at the same time, it was pretty hard to distinguish which was which, right? Like the overall you know, weight distribution, the overall upper felt really similar as well. The cushion also felt really similar. It's just the Zoom Freak 4 had little tiny improvements, like the traction was a little bit better, the cushion felt for me a little bit better because of the foam, and that's pretty much it. You know, so in my personal opinion, I feel like the Zoom Freak 4 is overall the better performer. Again, like I said, if you want a little bit more of a responsive cushioning setup, then go with the 3. So that about concludes my versus video between the Zoom Freak 3 and the Zoom Freak 4. Again, if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave the affiliate link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.